Welcome to episode 41 of the Metamagix Monster Manual and another continuation of the Demon Souls chapter. In today's episode, we are going to be covering how I think you should run the Storm King and the subsequent magic item in DnD 5e. As a reminder, you can find a link to every single stat block and every single magic item from the Metamagix Monster Manual in the description of this video. It'll take you to my Discord where you can find downloadable pictures for free. And if you want to see all these monsters and magic items run live in action, you can jump on over to my Twitch stream where I run weekly interactive D&D campaigns featuring all items and monsters from the Metamagix Monster Manual that you, the viewer, can influence. The link to that can also be found in the description. But before we jump into any stats, let's talk about the design goals of the Storm King stat block. Now, for the Storm King, I wanted to design a creature that is a very final mini-boss, where while it wouldn't necessarily be the end to a campaign, it would likely have serious implications for the surrounding terrain in which the boss is killed. I also wanted to make it around a sort of glass cannon type build where it is very easy to kill should your party be able to kill it, but it also deals an immense amount of damage with the abilities and the single attack it has. That being said, this encounter should also be run towards the middle to end game of a campaign, as your party can get overwhelmed pretty quickly by what is in store for the stat block. So with that all being said, let us begin. So this is the Storm King, and to begin, the Storm King is classified as a gargantuan fiend with the chaotic evil tag. It has an armor class of 13, 150 hit points, and a movement speed of 45 flying. For the stat array, most of the stats are pretty above average, with a 16 strength, 8 dex, 18 constitution, 14 intelligence, 16 wisdom, and 14 charisma. It has a passive perception of 13, speaks 0 languages, and has a challenge rating of 15. For the Storm King's abilities, we have magic attack. The Storm King's attack is considered magical, and it also has the Lord of Storms ability. The Storm King begins any encounter with 10 Storm Beasts attached to its back. The Storm Beasts share the initiative count of the Storm King but take their turns immediately after the Storm King. We will go into the Storm Beast stat block after this one. For the actions of the Storm King, we have Stinger Swarm only. The Storm King fires a barrage of 10 stingers targeting any number of creatures within a 100-foot radius. It is a ranged weapon attack plus 8 to hit, reach 100 feet. One target dealing 2d8 plus 3 piercing damage. This will happen 10 times. So the same target can either be targeted 10 times or it'll be 10 stingers split amongst the entire party. But because the Storm King is a legendary creature, it also has legendary actions. You take 3 legendary actions, choosing from one of the options below, only once at a time, and only at the end of another creature's turn. The Storm King regains spent legendary actions at the start of its turn, but the only legendary actions it has are Detect, where the Storm King makes a perception check, or Move. The Storm King moves up to half its move speed rounded down. So it is a very simple stat block. The Storm King flies in within range of the party, fires its barrage of missiles, and then circles back around to make basically these carpet bombing runs of these Stinger missiles. So this will be in a very environmental based encounter. You do want to be running this like outside in the middle of a storm, perhaps. So with that, we also have the Storm Beast stat block, which is considered a large beast with the chaotic evil tag. It has an armor class of 13, only 20 hit points, and a movement speed of 40 feet. For the stat array, it's pretty simple with 14 strength, 10 dexterity, 14 constitution, 8 intelligence, 14 wisdom, and 10 charisma. It has a passive perception of 12, speaks no languages, and has a challenge rating of 1. And the only action it gets is the Stinger. It is a ranged weapon attack plus 4 to hit, reach 30 to 60 feet, one target, and deals 2d6 plus 2 piercing damage. So by itself, not very threatening, but remember, the Storm King is going to spawn with 10 of these that are all going to make attacks immediately after the Storm King. So there is a world in which your party is going to have to weather 20 separate Stinger attacks before they get to take a single one of their next turns. So they need to be ready for that whenever that comes. Either give your party some cover or make sure that they have plenty of HP before you throw all of these attacks at them. So your party just defeated the Storm King and has slain all of the Storm Beasts. What are they going to get for their loot? They should get the Morion Blade. The Morion Blade is a very rare sword of any type, depending on what you decide to give it to them. The Morion Blade is a very rare sword that requires attunement. It is a sword of any type, so you decide what kind of sword you want to give them. A gnarled, thorny, large sword of black quartz forged from the soul of the demon Storm King. It is actually the marrow of the Storm Beasts. These beasts take the pleasure in the wielder's peril, and in these situations, the blade's attack power is greatly increased. The damage varies by weapon type, again, depending on what you decide to give them. You gain +2 to attack and damage rolls made with this weapon. And while you have less than 25% of your maximum hit points, this weapon always deals the maximum possible damage on hit. So if the weapon is a longsword, deals 1d8, it will always deal 8 on the damage die. You don't even have to roll for damage. If it's a greatsword, it's always going to be the full 12 damage, etc. So a very powerful weapon with a very high risk, high reward factored to it. But guys, that is how I think you should run the Storm King, Storm Beasts, and the Morian Blade in D&D 5e. If you guys enjoyed this video and enjoyed the stat blocks, be sure to leave this video a like and leave any comments or questions you have in the comments section down below. We only have one more episode of the Demon Souls chapter before we move on to our next game. So be sure to subscribe and not miss that coming up very soon. And until next time, guys, have fun, stay safe, and as always, happy gaming.